I would like to start by apologizing for the lighting, because I usually film with natural lighting, but we are having a gloomy last day of June here in Sweden, which I think is the perfect way to describe Sweden. I'm here today to do the Pride Flag book tag, which is a tag by Common Spence that is pretty new. I wasn't tagged, of course, but I wanted to do it. Hopefully, I'll get it up before the end of June. Today's the last day, so hopefully I'll just get it all done today. Fingers crossed, man. One last disclaimer though, if my hair looks weird, it's because I dyed over the green parts and it's still a bit visible. Oh, hello, sun. It's sort of still visible. I'm gonna dye it again, but like, I know it's weird. Okay, right. Let's just get right into it. I think. There are 6 questions. It's basically all, like, you basically take like the meaning of certain colors in the pride flag, and he's made questions or like prompts out of those meanings. The first question is red, which means life. A book with a spirited protagonist, totally proud of who they are, someone who gives you life. For this question, I have picked a book which is last in this pile I have here, so this pile is gonna change. So the pile is different, don't get alarmed. My answer for this question is Dress Codes for Small Towns by Courtney Stevens. This is essentially a book about a girl named Billy. She lives in like a small town and her dad is the priest or preacher, I don't know the difference. And one night she and her friend group sort of like burn down a church or start fire to a church, something like that, which obviously doesn't really go down well in this small town where her dad is the preacher. And Billy is also trying to figure out her identity, like her sexual orientation. She doesn't really dress like other girls around where she lives. She doesn't really wear dresses. She has her hair more like masculine. But she's like totally still proud of who she is. And she never once questions her like religion. She still believes in God and stuff. It's never about that. It's just that everyone else questions her and like doesn't accept her, but she's totally like certain of who she is. Of course, she has like certain things she's still figuring out, but she is still someone who I would like to be like, not gonna lie. She's so cool. I really recommend this book. It came out last year, I think. The next question is orange, which means healing. A book that made you, as a reader, find a deeper meaning or catharsis in your own life. Why are all my answers at the bottom of this pile? For this question, I have decided to go with Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Allaire Science. I don't really know like how to describe what I feel about like why this book made me feel catharsis. It's just that something. Maybe I should explain what it's about. It's basically about this guy named Ari, or Aristotle. He goes by Ari. He meets this guy named Dante. Like, none of them really have many friends, or like at all. And they meet during one summer, and they start a friendship. And basically it's about, trying to navigate whatever they have. And also Ari's, like, inner struggle with certain things, like his family life, and things that are going on with him. Ari really does remind me of myself. I feel like that's such a weird thing to say about, like, your favorite book character is like, oh, I see myself in them. Just because, you love them, you want to see yourself in them. But I really do see parts of myself in Ari. And reading about him and his struggles and, like, figuring out life sort of reminds me of who I was when I was his age. He's, like, 16 or something in this book, 17 maybe. And I was very similar to him at that age. And it just felt really good to read about it. Third question is Yellow, Sunshine, a book that fills you with so much joy it could brighten even your darkest day. For guess what the book is? It's the one in the bottom of my pile. I actually have 2 answers for this question because the first answer that I wanted to go with, I feel like everyone would probably go with because it is a book that is pretty popular right now. People are reading it, are loving it. It's very cute. But I had to go with it, but I wanted to mention another book as well. But let's start with the obvious answer, which is Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. I love this book. It's so sweet, even though it deals with heavier topics. I feel like Albertalli really does a great job of writing fluffy stuff, but also like mix in more serious like topics. This is essentially about a guy named Simon who is being blackmailed by a classmate of his who finds out that he has this cyber relationship with another guy, and Simon isn't out, and he doesn't really want to be outed by this guy, so he has to do what this guy wants in order to keep his secrets to himself. It's so cute. Like, I feel like it sounds serious. Like, it's like, oh, he's being blackmailed, which obviously it is serious. It's not something you should take lightly. But it's very, like, it's a very, very sweet book at the same time. It's not just drama and anxiety, you know? It's a lot of other things in here, and it makes me just so happy. I reread it earlier this year. I was gonna reread it in preparation for Love, Simon, but then I found out that Love, Simon comes out in June in Sweden. I mean, I've seen it now. It was really good, but I had to wait. Like, it came out in March everywhere else, or it feels like everywhere else was probably just in the US. But I was just like, okay, I'm gonna wait then. So worth it. I feel like this is a book that I'm gonna reread a lot in my life. It makes me so happy. Also, Leah on the Offbeat made me so happy, but like that's unrelated. But if I'm gonna answer this question with a book that maybe not everyone has read, in order to like throw some recommendations at you, I would pick Morris by Ian Forster, which is an older book, but don't get fooled by that because it's very accessible language, I feel like. It's basically about this guy named Morris who we sort of get to follow him from childhood briefly until like he's a little older and he's in university and stuff. This book was written quite a while ago. It was written in like the 30s or something. No, I don't actually know when it was written, but it came out in the 70s after Ian Forster's death. But it's essentially about Morris meeting a man, starting a relationship, stuff happening. He obviously wasn't allowed to be with a man back then, obviously. And I feel like maybe that's not the happiest read, but just generally the book and the story makes me really happy because I loved the book, and just thinking about it makes me happy. So it's not necessarily a happy read in the same sense as Simon is, but I still love it. Number 4 is Green Nature, a book that is set out of this world, a reality different to our own. I have 2 answers for this as well, because the first one I don't actually own, and I kind of wanted to be able to hold something. But the first book that I thought of when it came to this question was Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire, which is essentially about this group of like teenagers. I don't know if some of them are younger, but like these kids anyway who have been to a different world. They got like they opened a door and they came to a different world, but then they were somehow brought back to our world. So it's not necessarily set in those other worlds. We just get to hear about them. But then they go to this home where they have to like try to navigate coming back to real life again, or real world. I know the other ones. There's a series, so there's like 2 more books right now, I think. And I know at least the second one is partly set in a different world, but I haven't read it yet. I tried to, but it was a library book and I had to return it. It was a mess. Yeah, I really do recommend Every Heart a Doorway. My second answer for this is, I don't know if this really counts, but I'm gonna go with it. It's The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is a retelling of the Iliad, sort of, from like Patroclus's point of view. He was, or is, or whatever, Achilles', well, best friend, aka lover. This is basically told from his perspective from when he was a child till he got older, how he met Achilles, what happened then, blah blah blah, the war. And I thought this counted because it's Greek mythology and there are gods and demigods and I don't know, like stuff like that. Not really things we see in the real world. So I thought that sort of counted because it's not our world right now, you know? But yeah, I really do recommend this. And I thought it fit the question. I don't know. You can see my laptop now. I'm basically stacking the books and then I'm putting my laptop on it. Cool. The 5th question is Blue Peace, book where one of the characters finds peace with a difficult truth. Guess where the book is? In the bottom of my pile. For this question, I went with the book Tin Man by Sarah Winman, which I read last year. Really enjoyed. It's basically about this guy named Ellis, I believe. Yes, it is. We're basically like jumping back and forth in time. Like we're seeing him as a child when he became friends with a guy named Michael, and we see like his home life, what happens when he met his wife, what happens afterwards. Like we're definitely getting a feel that where Ellis is now in life is not really a good place, and we're wondering, oh, where's Annie and where's Michael, you know, where's his mom? Like there are a lot of things to unpack here. It's a very beautiful book, and I feel like Ellis definitely has to sort of come to terms with a few things, and I feel like he gets his peace eventually about these things, and I think everyone should read it. But I think so of all of these books, so whatever. And the final question is Purple Spirit, a book that deals with LGBT plus themes and religion. I'm gonna say Dress Codes for Small Towns again, that I talked about previously. I'm not gonna hold it up because it's in the bottom of the pile again. But like I said, it deals. Like I said, the main character is religious, and she never really loses her faith because of this whole thing going on with her. But I'm also gonna say another book that I haven't mentioned, which is Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit by Jeanette Winterson, which is sort of like biographical, but it isn't really. It's about this girl named Jeanette. It's not really Jeanette, but like obviously it is inspired by her life, but it's definitely are only parts that are fictional in here. But it's basically about this girl named Jeanette who is adopted into a religious household. I don't really know what sort of Christians they are, but they're not like Catholics or Protestants, they're something else. And her mother is very religious, and you know, she grows up religious, but like she eventually realizes she's a lesbian, and that sort of clashes with the whole religious thing in here. Unlike Dress Codes for Small Towns, she is actually having a lot more trouble with this whole thing, mostly because her mother doesn't accept her and stuff. The community doesn't really accept her. It's very short and definitely worth a read, especially if you want to read like older LGBT things by older LGBT authors. I think Jeanette Winterson is one who you should read, as well as Alice Smith, but she's not on this tag. That was the Pride Flag book tag by Common Spence. I don't tag anyone because I don't know anyone. But yeah, happy Pride Month. It's literally like over in 2 seconds. Stockholm Pride is in August, so technically it's Pride for the rest of the summer. So even though I work during Pride and I can't go, it's fine. I hope you all have a good last day of June, a good July, if this happens to be uploaded in July instead. Just hopefully you'll have a good day. I'll see you next time. My name is Nat, by the way, because I never introduce myself, so bye.